how's it going, everyone? Welcome to the Turin Giants, and tonight we have, for the first time, but not the first time on the Turin Giants, he's been with us on the podcast before, we have Adam Digby, and as always with us, we got Dash. Adam, we'll start with you. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, pretty good, thanks. Tell the fans, tell us about yourself, just a little bit.
I've been writing about Juventus for about 10 years now. Lived in Turin for a long part of that time. Live in England again now since before the COVID pandemic changed the world. Still writing about Juve, still watching, still Perfect. Disappointed in the current state of the team, but it looks like it's heading in the right direction, right?
Absolutely. Hey, we're all in this together. So we'll love it together. We'll suffer together. We'll do it all together. And we are all together, the three of us today. Dash, how you doing?
Oh, I'm hyped. I saw that fire intro. You gotta who made that bad boy?
That was Dan Colissimo, the same guy that made the old poster back there. He did the logo first. I gotta hype this guy up. He did.
He's awesome, man.
He's so good. I can't say enough good things. We had somebody working on the graphic design for the channel for a little bit. Things kind of just fell through for whatever reason. We hit up Colo and bam, within a couple days, everything. Like, I'm going to be updating the branding, everything on the website. It's going to look a lot more cleaner, a lot more consistent. Man, love the guy. Colo, if you're listening, thank you so much. It's amazing. But yeah, now that those are out of the way, let's get right into it. So, Dash, because you completely redid my notes, I gotta get you to start, and Adam, I'll get you to comment on Dash's show here.
So I just we'll touch base on what happened last night around the league. So we've seen some mixed results. So I mean, this year's Campionato is going to be an interesting Campionato. Reason why is because everyone that made fun of us for Sampdoria, go make fun of Lazio because they tied 1-1 with Samp. The next thing later is the guys that we're going to be playing this weekend, Fiorentina, lost 1-0 to Udinese. So, again, some of those people that were saying fire Allegri and hire Vincente Italiano, I think you guys are eating your words a little bit. Again, it's still early. I just got to throw a little bit of a jab there. But also the red-hot chili pepper Napoli has been stuffed by Lecce, 1-1. And if you look at the group standings, if we're not looking at goal differential or anything like that, we're tied in third place with 8 points. Roma sits up top with 10. So still all to play for. It's not a horrific start like some folks were making it out to be originally after the Sampdoria game. We're in it, and I think we're only going to get better from here.
Oh, for sure. Adam, what do you think? First few games here.
I think the season so far reminds me very much of last season, doesn't it? You know, there's no standout team like we saw for the best part of a decade while Juve were winning everything, like we saw with Inter when they won the league with Conte. Last season, it was like a battle of survival, wasn't it? The best of the worst managed to finish on top. And it looks set to be more of the same this year. You know, there's no team with maximum points already. We're only 4 weeks into the season. No one has maximum points. It's very early to be at that stage already. And the teams all look about the same level, really, don't they? You know, you can look at any given week, as Dash just went through the results there, and you see Napoli look great one week, Lazio the same. Milan, you think they're going to have a good start defending the league. They've drawn again already. You know, it's really hard to predict what's going to happen because the teams are all so tightly packed in together and so much of a similar standard, and that standard is not as high as it once was.
Yeah, it seems that way. And sorry, I just adjusted my mic. I realized I didn't have it anywhere close to my mouth. So sorry about the bad audio right off the bat. Dash, you're supposed to cover my ass here. What's going on?
I mean, you sound deep enough anyway. So it was just kind of like, yeah. So it's like, it wasn't like it was too obvious. And then, oh yeah, we have a private chat here. I could have just typed. That's my bad, everybody. Sorry. Bad production quality. You guys can just admonish me in the chat.
I mean, we got the intro now. Come on, we got to get this going.
I'm sorry. Guys.
It's all good. It's all good. We apologize, but we try to give you the best that we can. But let's not dwell on our mistakes so much. Let's dwell on somebody else.
Yeah,
somebody else's mistake. Milik. Should we start with Milik? Is that the best one? Adam,
I
I
mean,
want to hear.
why not? Let's go with the Milik man.
Let's go with the
little bit.
Milik man.
Anyway,
Adam, let's start it off.
What a great start for him, right? He comes on, does what he's supposed to do, be a good backup to Vlahovic and score a few goals, and he's off to the races already. Exactly what you need. I think there's a lot of fortune in that goal. You can talk about a great cross, this and that, but the ball to Moretti in the first place should have got cut out. The ball from Moretti definitely should have got cut out, but by the time it comes to Milik, he does what you want your striker to do and puts it in the back of the net. Job done. So, yeah a great start and a great first appearance for him, right?
No, absolutely. I mean, it's perfect. It's what you want. I mean, the thing is like Milik and Vlahovic have kind of similar but different play styles to an extent. I think Milik is a lot more mobile than Vlahovic is, but it's perfect. It's what you need at the last 10, 15 minutes of the game. You need that guy that, because everyone, like, for example, you can tell that Spezia were used to guarding Vlahovic, where like, okay, this is the amount of space he's going to be in. We'll hold this area. We'll try to contain him as much as possible. When you see Milik come in, Milik drops down to receive the ball to the midfield to push it out wide, and you can tell that these center backs, they're kind of like, should I follow him? Should I move? Like, should I do like? Because the thing is what you need is that, and one of the things why I kind of admired Zapata and Muriel at Atalanta is because Zapata is your big brawler in the middle that sits there for 65, 70 minutes, that is a menace up top, and then when Muriel comes in, it's a totally different change because like the defenders, again, some elite defenders adjust to it, but like, for example, what I saw with Spezia was kind of confused. So like, they were just kind of like, wait a minute, what do we do? And it's just like, you need that change of pace that we didn't have last year. So I think he is perfect for the role that he is in. And again, he's saying that he's more than happy to play that role. And I've seen it on the field 2 games in a row where I'm seeing him. He's dropping down, moving the ball, making some passes, making some lanes open. That's all you can ask for a substitute.
It is, and I think just to piggyback on that, I think he's different enough for it to be a change when he comes in. Like exactly like you said, I totally agree with that. But he's similar enough that the playing style doesn't have to change.
Yep.
I think for as much as it's easy to say, Memphis Depay is a better player than Milik. Yeah, okay, but you would have to completely change the way that you play if you're going to put Depay in. And Depay is not a guy who's going to be too happy being on the bench for too long either. I think Milik is a much better option as a backup and a much more cohesive member of the squad than Depay would have been. I think you would have ended up trying to shoehorn Depay in alongside Vlahovic. And you look at the rest of the squad, how it's made up, I don't think that would work as well. So I prefer it, to be honest, as much as, I can definitely see why people want Depay and that he's a better player than Milik. For me, it's a better fit because he's close enough to Vlahovic where you can carry on playing the same way but still have, like Dash said, that difference maker, that change of pace when you make the sub.
Yeah, you guys nailed it. I have nothing else essentially to add because you guys basically nailed it, and we are turning into a bit of a Milik fan club, it seems here. And I don't know if that's just because we're trying to go against the flow of what else is out there, but honestly, you guys nailed it. The same but different, and he got us that insurance. So I mean, more of the best from him. Let's do this. I'm enjoying it so far. A couple good performances with the goal after playing. How many minutes does he have now? Like half hour, 45 minutes?
Yeah, I would say maybe 30 minutes, and he's that's not bad. That's not bad at all. That's
not bad.
I think he's gonna have a good season. I got this feeling because originally at first I'm like, we're linked to Milik again. Like, oh my goodness, like every other year. But it's like the more, and like Davide and I talked about it, the more we looked at it and we're like, we don't need him to play 38 games. We don't need him to start 38 games. So we don't have to worry about his injury record per se, because he's not going to get fatigued as much unless something crazy happens in practice. But knock on wood, hopefully that doesn't happen. But we're like, he can score and he can do what he needs. I think, like, for example, he's everything that we needed Morata to be last year, but Morata just couldn't deliver it. Because like that finish that he had, that's balls coming off to his right foot, to be able to be composed, turn off the center back's back shoulder, and then slot it opposite side with his left foot. You can't.
He made it
Morata's not
look
gonna do
easy.
that. Yeah, like
Yeah.
Alvaro's not
Yeah.
going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
if the question is what would Morata be like if he scored goals, then
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in theory, yeah. I mean, like if Milik didn't have those knee injuries, I think he'd be probably a really expensive striker because I mean he looked good coming out of Ajax. He had 40. He was hot with when he first came into Napoli until he got the first ACL injury. So I think the Depay situation was a blessing in disguise for us.
I think so. Yeah. And Niket here coming in. As always, he's pretty much here every time. So thanks, Niket. You guys wanna take this one? Because
I'm just gonna say no. Straight, you know, like maybe like Allegri's done it before, where he completely changes the way that he approaches things. But for me, there's enough 3 years of evidence to say no. He's going to tell him to sit back and be calm and try and win the ball back deep and then counter attack from there. I don't think high pressing is high on his agenda at the moment.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe it's worded a little bit weird, but I don't think you could counter a high press because if you receive the ball when you high press, you're just pretty much on goal. Where it's a counter attack is when you're drawing them off. So, like for example, say that you pull 10 of their players or 7 of their players onto your side, your final third, and then you're able to win the ball and then push it back the opposite direction. Yeah. So I think that's what he means is where we sit back and we press in a deeper position and then quickly relay the ball out.
More of a medium press,
yeah,
in a sense.
like a low press, medium press, but position wise, not like just a light press.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I mean that's traditional Allegri. I mean that's almost every Italian coach. I mean, hey, let's be organized at the back and then we'll strike when we need to. Because like Vlahovic has, I saw this interesting stat. I think it was posted by IFTV. They said that Vlahovic is almost on par, if not has a better goal per touch ratio than Haaland. And Haaland,
the commentators were comparing him this past game too. The hype's coming.
Yeah, and I think, and you know, everyone's gonna go crazy, but I haven't seen Haaland shoot free kicks, and Vlahovic can hit free kicks consistently, so we've seen that. But different league, different thing, because I think in Serie A you need to be a little bit more composed, a little bit more organized with your touches because they're scarce. Versus, I think with a Manchester City team in the Premier League, I think we can make the argument that Vlahovic has been more efficient with his touches. But again, it's arguable. It's not, you know, set in stone. But the fact that he's being compared to Haaland as far as conversion per touches rate that's a good sign for us, and especially later down the road.
Absolutely.
The only thing I'd add to that is if you're comparing Vlahovic's touches per goal right now, it's a very small sample size.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
I know. Unfortunately, yeah. But I mean,
Haaland probably had more touches this week than Vlahovic has had in a Juve shirt this season.
I don't disagree with that.
And different supporting cast altogether. Don't forget that.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah.
But
so it actually goes into a good segue with the whole counterattacking style because, well, no, that's a later topic because we can talk about Miretti next.
Yeah, that was the next thing. Miretti, personally, like I'm on this hype train right now. I'm really loving it. Even though he had maybe not the greatest match last time out, he still showed up, and he probably showed up more so than, as always, our other midfielders. So, I don't know. Am I on par on that one, or
no?
Should I get off this train?
No. I agree with you because I mean, like for example, you could, and I think some of the commentators are saying that even though it wasn't his best game, he still was able to come in there and put in a performance. Which you can't be upset. You can't expect a 10 out of 10 week in, week out.
Yeah.
Like last week he had almost a 10 out of 10 against Roma, and like you would say that this week maybe is a 7.5 or something like that, where it's a little bit off, but not atrocious. Because the thing is like. And we've had this and we've experienced this for years where we have McKennie have like a 10 out of 10 game and then he'll have like 2 out of 10s back-to-back games. And then you're just kind of like, oh, come on, man. Yeah. So like seeing a level of consistency where it's like, it's not, world class every single week, but like it's a higher standard than what we're used to. And I think, and it shows with how he plays, even that pass that he did to Milik for the goal, like that was a hustling play. Like, plenty of times, just kind of like how Adam said, it was like it could have died. The play should have been dead. It shouldn't have gone through. But like even with Miretti, kind of, I think he slid while he was crossing that ball over too. So the kid's putting everything he can into it. So you can't complain about that at all.
Yeah, Adam, what do you think there?
I'm just amazed to see a young Italian kid getting a chance to play for Juve. To be perfectly honest,
yeah, it's refreshing.
It's a homegrown one at least. It's great. They've been extremely scarce over the past 30 years. So yeah, it's great, and I think he only turned 19 like 3 weeks ago. He's bound to have some inconsistent performances. Everybody does. It's just going to happen. Like you say, it happened with McKinney. McKinney's like 5 years older than him, so he's got a lot to learn. And I think when the bigger games come, I think it's hard to see Allegri still keeping faith with him when everybody else is fit. But he's making a good name for himself right now. I think. And again, it's not to criticise Miretti in any way. Like if you've got Paul Pogba or Miretti as a choice, you're Allegri, you're going to play Pogba.
Yeah,
of course you are.
Sure.
And then you have Paredes, you have Locatelli, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with being a backup to those guys. That's where Marchisio started.
Yeah, look at him now. I mean, he
was a backup to Christian Poulsen and Momo Sissoko, but which isn't quite the same. But he got his chance, and Miretti looks like he's getting his, and that's a great thing for you. But like I say, it's so rare for these players to come through. I mean, besides Del Piero and Marchisio, there's nobody. There's a few Paolo Di Cele games and a few Sebastian Giovinco games, and that's really it. It's just not happening.
Yeah.
So that's going back to 1992, 93. You've got two guys. So if you can be the third, being third to Marchisio and Del Piero is a good place to be if you're a Juve fan.
And who knows from here?
Club.
Yeah. I mean, he might even surpass. Hopefully, I would be ecstatic if he does. But even if he comes close to that, you still take that.
Look, the thing is, even if he becomes the fourth or fifth choice midfielder in the Juve squad, it's a homegrown player. You've not had to pay any money for him, and that's still a valuable thing to have. You look at all the best teams. You look at Bayern Munich, Real Madrid. They still have these kids. They still bring them through, and that's been one thing that Juve have been really bad at in recent years.
But they're improving, and also for the national team, it's a positive outlook in both senses.
It's great. I think, we can get carried away. We can say, maybe he can be as good as Marchisio or this and that. But there's no shame whatsoever in if he settles into being a player who can do a better job than Rabiot as being the first choice substitute. If you've got a midfield of Locatelli, Pogba, and Paredes, and Miretti becomes the fourth choice player to that, that's amazing.
It is.
That really is amazing. And people might be like, oh, well, you'd hope for more. Yeah, of course you want more. You want him to be a starter. You want him to play all the time. You want him to become a legend with the club. All those things, obviously. But there's also nothing wrong with, like I said, he was a 7 out of 10 against Spezia. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, that's a really good player.
No, exactly. Go ahead, Dave.
And I would say maybe why his performance wasn't as good is he was marked. Like he's getting a reputation.
Yeah.
And the other teams are starting to notice, and they're putting more pressure on him. So this is where he has to improve his game, is to improve under that pressure. But I mean, he still showed up. He still put that effort in. He just has to clean it up a bit, and that's good. The fact that the other teams are taking notice, all the better.
Yeah.
So let's move on. I mean, we spent 10 minutes on Moretti. Obviously, we love Moretti, but our maybe slightly older Bugatti, our other new guy. First time out with the clean sheets. I don't know. That's pretty good in my books.
See, from what I saw him and Bremer, they looked really well together. I mean, it was a smooth, balanced pairing. Like, I'm not gonna say it's a Bonucci and Chiellini pairing, but like, it caught me by surprise. Yes, definitely better. Because the thing is, and here's the funny thing is what I saw the difference between Gatti and Rugani. So like there would be times where Gatti is 1-on-1 and he would still take the tackle or make the challenge, but it was clean. Like it was a clean tackle. It wasn't like a frantic tackle like Rugani or Demiral would make. Like Demiral would just throw himself in front of the person and hope something happens. Where it's like with Gatti, it's like you would see him. Yeah, it was a tackle. It was a beautiful tackle. Like he would put his leg in front of the guy, knock the ball out. It wouldn't be any slide tackles or anything like that. And then the cool thing was like I remember Gatti and Bremer were stopping a counterattack where Gatti kind of obstructed the striker, and then Bremer came in from behind and was able to slide, tackle, and take the ball out. Like I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, these guys haven't been together in over a month, and I'm like, they're starting to essentially understand each other that well.
Yeah,
So I
chemistry.
mean, I'm impressed. I do think Gatti needs more time. Again, this is his first Serie A start. I think once he starts getting through into the rhythm and the rotation, I think he's going to be a solid defender. I mean, it's the eye test. It was promising. It was against Spezia, and guys, I didn't feel like. Yeah, go ahead.
They're the games he's going to have to play, right?
Yeah.
When you play against the Spezia, you need to be able to give Bonucci a rest or whoever. And having a player like him who can come in, it's light years away from having a Rugani where every time the ball goes near him, you're like, oh no, not again.
Yeah.
It says a lot that the biggest compliment you could pay to Gatti just then, Dash, was there was a time he was one-on-one with a striker and he made a tackle. Like, that's a surprise that a backup defender knows how to tackle. That tells you how bad Rugani has been, and Demiral before him as well, because I love Demiral. The guy gave everything he had, but he was clumsy. He was clumsy, and that's fine. Christian Romero is clumsy, but he's managing to do a job at Tottenham. But the way that Juve have been playing on a knife edge, trying to grind out narrow wins, you can't have that. You have to have players with composure who can make clean tackles and keep a clean sheet, because if you concede a goal, then you're drawing 1-1. And Gatti looked like, against a poor Spezia team, admittedly, but he looked like he can do that. And again, like I said with Moretti about being a serviceable backup, that's all you need from Gatti. You don't want him to be, he's not as good as Chiellini. Oh, okay.
Obviously,
obviously.
But that's where we have to be. We have to think, okay, you've got Bonucci, you've got Bremer. Bremer looks fantastic. And then behind them, you've got Gatti, who, if you need him to step in, has a good understanding with Bremer. He knows what the job is, and he's capable of doing it. And that is huge for a team that has been struggling for backup defenders since Andrea Barzagli retired.
Yeah. And the beauty of it is the more games I watch, the more I think we won the De Ligt deal. Selling De Ligt, the more I think the club. I mean, I get it. It's still too early, and et cetera. But like, Bremer's been really well as like some of the players that we used to bring in. It's just, for me, it's like I'm sitting there, I'm like, I haven't had a fear that we've been getting like there's a shot of us conceding. Like when we played Spezia, I wasn't really that worried. I'm like, oh no, something's going to happen in the back. Same thing with Sassuolo. Outside of the one error with Sampdoria, I wasn't really too worried. I mean, you can say Roma was a fluke as far as like how that action went down, because that was just a swinger where it's one of those like stuff that you play in a pickup game that just happens. But like, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's too soon to say, but I don't know. I just like Bremer. He's just organized, composed.
I like Bremer as well. But we're talking about games against Sampdoria, Sassuolo, and Spezia.
I
understand. Played in the Champions League semi-final. De Ligt is a world-class player. Like there's no getting around it. Yeah, he wasn't at his best the whole time he was at Juve. He had some problems. Okay, he's a world-class centre-back, and Bremer is a very good Serie A centre-back right now. In time, maybe Juve made a big profit on the two deals. Fine. I'd still rather have De Ligt. I'd actually rather have De Ligt and Bremer and not have Bonucci.
Of course. I get you.
But reality.
Yeah, in reality, De Ligt wanted to leave. That's out of Juve's hands. They did a brilliant job replacing him with a very good defender.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's kind of the argument that I want to make is like, it almost feels like we didn't lose a step per se with it, because, that was the big concern that a lot of folks had with him leaving, where they're like, oh, I don't know if we're going to be, what's going to happen. Bremer's kind of filled the gap pretty well. I mean, of course, you'd love to have both of them, but Bremer, I'd
be very interested to see him against PSG. The first time in a big Champions League game. It's against a tough opponent, great strikers. Is he big in that moment, or does he shrink? Because we've seen that before, like you watch Juve long enough, you see players who look great somewhere else, they come to Juve and then the bright lights come on and they disappear.
Yeah. You're not talking about my Bernardeschi, are you?
No, because I don't think he was ever actually that good in the first place.
He is doing amazing in TFC. I'm just going to throw it there. He scored again last night, but that's a whole different
Good luck to him. Rock and roll, whatever you want. But, I just think that's where we're going to find out with Bremer. So far, so good. Absolutely. Can't criticise the guy in any way.
Yeah.
I really hope that he can deliver because I really like him. I think he's got a lot of good quality. I thought that when he was at Torino. I think it even more now, obviously, because home bias, you have to. But yeah, I like the guy, and I think he's potentially a very, very good defender. You've got to see it first, right?
No, of course, yeah. I don't disagree with you there.
And we will. The big games are yet to come very shortly next week. But that being said, 4 matches played. Despite the competition, we've conceded 1 goal in 4 games, and that was off a corner. So it is what it is. Those stats don't lie. It's been a good start. If not shaky, we've been able to keep it clean. So we take it. Whether you like Bremer, Delict, whatever, I think that's a conversation we should have again later on in the season for sure. But yeah, let's move on. Actually, this is kind of the same thing. This past match, speaking of defense, Spezia had 0 shots on target. 0. When was the last time?
That's a big improvement from Juve not having any shots on target.
Yes, exactly. It's a bit of a change of pace. But yeah, I don't know if there's any more to add to that that you guys already kind of covered.
No, an excellent team performance. The guys did their job. I think we can praise Gatti, we can praise Bremer. It helps when the 3 guys in front of them go and fit together, which again has been a long time since you could say that about a Juve team. And I think Paredes is only going to make that better. But this summer, the changes in midfield, you have to say they look like they've got that absolutely spot on. The blend and the cohesion is so much better, so much sharper in midfield. Obviously, we want to see more actual football rather than just defending from them. But, it's early days yet. The team's always slow to get going with Allegri, peak in March, all the old cliches. But that really helps the defence, and limiting a team to no shots on target, that's a good job. It's only Spezia. That's who you're playing against. You can only keep the team you're playing against.
Yeah. It's only the people that you play in front of you. That's it. It's not like we're playing Bayern Munich every weekend. So,
thank God.
Well, who knows? They might not be having the greatest season this year. We'll see. Again, early days, but
I know
playing Delict. I actually didn't even confirm that. Did he actually play up as a striker, or was that a big joke?
Well, I don't know, because if you look at the substitute, they switched him for Sadio Mane. I think he probably threw him in defense, but everyone was making the joke, hey, everyone, Delict's playing winger like he always wanted to. So
yeah, I figured it was a bit of a stretch on that one.
Yeah, I think so too.
But we've mentioned Paredes a couple times now. I think we should officially, from the channel, from Turn Giants, welcome him to Juve, because it is now official. So welcome, Leandro. I know this was a bit contentious, but I think the fans have kind of bought on the past couple weeks, and I'm starting to get a bit excited too. I want to see him play, obviously. I want to see him in the stripes, but I don't know. Are you guys excited?
I am. I think he helps the midfield out. I don't want to say he's the all-in-one jigsaw piece of the puzzle, but for example, if you see, in theory, Pogba, Paredes, and Locatelli, that's a midfield that's going to do work this year. I think, arguably, you could say it's probably one of the better midfields in Serie A.
Yeah,
I agree. I think as much as signing Paredes, a player with great experience, just talking about Bremer not having the Champions League experience, Paredes has got it in spades. He's played in Serie A before. He knows what it's like to be at a big club because he's been at PSG. There was a great picture of him in the locker room with Pogba and Di Maria. So he's a big game player, isn't he, already? And as much as signing him makes a big difference to fill that need in front of the defence where Allegri loves it, I also think, as Ash alluded to already, pushing Locatelli to the side and letting him play in his actual position instead of Pjanicing him is a massive bonus as well, because that, if you go back and watch Pjanic at Roma, it's like you're watching a completely different player you've never seen before in your life, and having Paredes so that he can go back to, Locatelli can go back to playing where he actually plays and getting forward and getting in the box and scoring goals and being involved is just as big as having a player like Paredes to do the job that he needs to do. It upgrades 2 positions at once.
I love how you made a verb out of Pjanic. I'm going to roll with that one.
Well, I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, it's honestly kind of the thing that happened. But like to piggyback off of him, your point, but like, yeah, with a fully fit Pogba and Locatelli, that essentially, if you include Vlahovic and your two wingers, that also includes two additional attack options where defenses have to sit there because Locatelli can shoot from distance. We saw that against Roma, unfortunately, got overruled. Pogba, we all know Pogba can hit those from anywhere outside the box.
Yeah.
So imagine yourself being like the defense of the other squad, because you're like, okay, cool. Are they going to play it to Di Maria? Are they going to play it to Chiesa when Chiesa's healthy? Are they going to go to Vlahovic? Is Pogba going to shoot it? Is Locatelli going to shoot it? Like that to me just like intrigues me, because like you have so many options where last year, like you look at how we played last year and you have Dybala. You had Vlahovic. You had Vlahovic. Maybe you had Dybala. Maybe Morata is playing good this week. Like you didn't have anything. It was just everything. Run it through Cuadrado, and hopefully Cuadrado just lobs something and it sticks. I mean, that's how it was last year. So it's like, oh man, it's just like you think about it now, and you're just like, how is this the same team as this was less than 12 months ago? Like, it's just going to be such I think January is going to probably be one of the most interesting parts of the season. If all these players, if all these players can incorporate and blend in properly, guys, we're going to be really dangerous.
Yeah, and then you've got Kostic and Milik on the bench to come and change it up. I mean, suddenly, like you say, it's a team where, hey, hold on, they might actually go over the halfway line and be dangerous.
Yep. A team with depth, finally. And speaking of that depth, let's try to answer this question here. Fagioli, what do we do with him? Where's he at now?
I still wouldn't be surprised if there's a Serie B loan or something in there, because he went to Serie B last year, didn't he? I think you look at, so we said Locatelli, Pogba, Paredes, Miretti, Rabiot, McKennie. That's 6 already. Being who's a 7th choice midfielder, that's a tough break, man.
It is, And obviously, Ravella's moved on too.
But that's where Fagioli would be if he sticks around. And how much is he going to play if he's 7th choice behind all those guys?
He'll play around a 16 Copa game, maybe a quarterfinal, something like that. That's what you're getting.
So there was this interesting stat, speaking of Fagioli, that I saw, and because it's funny, because Allegri said in a post conference where he was like, "Hey, stop saying young players; they're all players," and yada yada yada. But Allegri has played Miretti more than Pirlo has played Fagioli. Like that was something that I discovered. Yeah, so I was a little bit perplexed with that. I didn't expect that, but they were saying. And roughly about a similar sample size. Don't quote me on this because I'm not reading it verbatim, but they were saying that Allegri has actually played Moretti more than Pogba, or not Pogba. Pirlo has played Fagioli. That's Pirlo played Fagioli. So I thought that was interesting. And watching Fagioli in the preseason, I wasn't, he had some flashes, but I thought that he's still raw. I still think he needs more development, where it's like you watch Moretti, you can tell that Moretti is a solid midfielder. Like there's some midfielders that you can tell from watching that, okay, they deserve to be there. Like they need to be there. Whereas like you look at someone where you're like watching Fagioli and you're just kind of like, I see it. I still think he needs to be loaned out to get more consistent play time. Because like, yes, he helped Cremonese get into Serie A this year. But I think he needs to. I still think he needs to get loaned out.
He needs to play in Serie A, and he's not going to play in Serie A at Juve. If Juve are serious and they want him to develop, being the 7th choice player at his age, it doesn't help him. It doesn't help Juve. As much as you want to see these guys stick around and get used, he's not going to play. Like it's great enough that Allegri's trusting Miretti. He's not going to give 2 of them a chance at once. Come on.
No. But. Anyways, we'll
unless
take,
he can play fullback,
like Bernadeschi. I want to give a quick shout out here. Kevin McIntyre, he's joining in on his commute. He's saying here, "Hey Kevin, thanks for joining." If you don't know, he's the guy that's in Torino right now. Actually, that's a lie. He's actually back in the States visiting family, but he's going back next week. He's going to be at the PSG game. He tells me.
Nice.
Or sorry, not that. No, because that's one Paris. The next one is the Benfica game. Is it? Anyways, he's going to be at the first home. I'm getting this messed up. I'm sorry, but he's going to be at the first home UCL match. He's giving us content straight from the stands. If you've seen our shorts, if you've seen some of our videos, we got fan interviews. We got the reactions right in the stands. I mean, these are blowing up all over YouTube, thousands of views. So please check them out. It's the only place really that you're gonna get the raw footage from the fans. He is the fans. He's there in the curva doing everything. So please check him out. Give him some props. And he also has a question before I hit the road here. Transfer market is closed. What's your biggest regret of the transfer market? Adam, I'll let you start this one off.
That Alexandro is still a Juve player, and B, the first choice left back.
Yeah.
I think, to be honest, I have to be completely honest. When we talk about Gatti, we talk about Bremer. Central defence is much better. The midfield, we've talked at length, is great. Tons of options in attack. And then Alexandro. It really is. It's like the Cambiasso that Juve signed from Genoa is a better player than him, and they've loaned him out to Bologna. He's better than Alexandro today.
Yeah.
The contract. I understand contract. I understand all of that. It's a World Cup year. If you tell him he's not having a squad number and he's not playing, he's going to want to move to play football so he can try to play in the World Cup.
That's a good point.
If you say, but if you say, oh yeah, well we've got a friendly on Saturday and you're going to be the captain because Manucci is injured, of course he's not going to leave. It's the same with Rugani. Or he turned down Sampdoria. It's like, well, you just made him captain. Well, what do you expect? If you want to push these guys out, there's a way to do it. If you need to make them feel like they're not part of the team, there's a way to do it. But if you don't want to do that, then you end up stuck with him, and that has to be the biggest regret because it's a massive weakness in this team. I don't feel the same way about Danilo. I think Danilo's a serviceable fullback. I think you're lacking options down that left-hand side, and Sandro's a starter, and either Danilo or De Sciglio as the backup that's rough, man.
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna go right there with you. I think the one thing I'll say, probably my one regret, is we didn't capitalize on Udogie or Molina, one of those two.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where I'm just like it's just, and even with Pellegrini, we can say what we want about him, but like the fact that there isn't like a conclusive finish with Pellegrini, because it's just a dry loan. There isn't an option to buy or an obligation to buy with Frankfurt. So the thing is he comes back, and then you have Cambiasso back, and then you're just kind of like, do you sell Pellegrini? Like, how? Because it's the
same problem. Juve keep making the same problem for themselves. I was tweeting about Marco Piazza today.
Another loan.
but he came to Juve in 2016. He played 3 months. He broke his leg. He played 3 games, and he tore his ACL on international duty.
Yeah.
Then at the end of that season, he'd played 20 games for Juve. He went on loan in Germany. He went on loan to Fiorentina. He went on loan to Torino. He went on loan to Genoa. Then Juve gave him a new contract with an extra 2 years on it and sent him on loan to Anderlecht. And it's like, what are you doing? We knew by the time he was injured the second time, he's not good enough. Why? And this is the same problem. You loan the guy out, you send him here, you send him there, and all of a sudden you look around and the guy's 28 years old. He's been at Juve since he was 22. He's played 20 matches. You paid 20 million for him, and it's like, just get rid of the guy. What? Yeah. Why'd you keep? Nobody seems willing to make these firm decisions on so many players. And yes, it's about money and all of that, but it doesn't help. Like you say already, next summer, you've got Cambiasso, you've got Pellegrini, and you're still going to need another one, because you're not going to say, okay, one is the starter, one is the backup. Sandro's out of contract. Bye. That's it. That's not going to happen. They're going to bring somebody else. They're going to make another change. And you just have more and more players. You just accumulate players. And they're not good enough, but you're not willing to say, yeah, we need to sell him. You're just not going to cut it.
Yeah, and that's my concern with it, because, like, hypothetically, say that you get both Cambiasso and Pellegrini back, and hypothetically, I'm saying hypotheticals here, that both of them don't convince you that they're starters. So that means you either have to loan Cambiasso again, which probably will be the likely option, and then you have to figure out a solution for Pellegrini, unless you're planning on keeping him on the squad, which then you're just kind of like, okay. Like, we bought Pellegrini almost 3 years ago, and we've loaned him out every single season besides last season, because I just think that there wasn't anyone that would take him. So it's like, at this point, it's like, when is the club just going to sit there and say, okay, cool, this isn't working. Like, we should just, cut our losses and move on. Because like that's the one thing that frustrates me about that. And it seems like it only happens on the left back and the left back position where we're constantly doing something like that, except out of Piazza.
Yeah.
But like, I was like sitting there, like, yeah. But yeah, it's just one of those things where you're like, why are we doing this? This doesn't make sense. Where it's like, and the thing is, for Doge, I was like, maybe we could just pick him up and he could play behind Sandro this season and then develop. And then Tottenham got him. Paratici decided to give him a $20 million contract because he gives everyone overinflated contracts. But no, but like, yeah, with that. And then it's like, it was an option, and he wasn't even expensive either. Tottenham, I believe, was just a couple $1 million. I think it was just a loan with an obligation to buy.
Yeah.
Same thing with Molina and Atletico Madrid. It wasn't that expensive. So I don't know if these Serie A teams are just saying, hey, we don't want to have Juve buy our players, so we'll just price them out and then just sell them for pennies. But
if that's the case, then you go shop somewhere else, right? You go in Germany or you go to England, whatever. There was a question just before about Cambiasso not being ready for first team football from Alessio. Yeah, okay, he's not ready for first team football. Would you say that Gatti is ready for first team football last year? Probably not, but you bring him in, you have him as a backup. If he's not good enough to be a backup, why are you spending 10 million on him when you don't have a left back?
Yeah.
It's a good point. Yeah.
Leave him where he is. Sign an actual left back or a backup to Sandro at least, like Udogie, if you're not convinced he can be a starter. You have to do something, though. Juve struggled at left back last season with Sandro starting and Pellegrini as backup. And the solution is send Pellegrini away and don't really have a backup besides De Sciglio. Like, I spent 10 million on another left back, but I've sent him to Bologna. Like that, I just don't understand. And when so much else in the summer has been put right, when you can praise Cherubini and Arriva Bene so highly for so much else that they've done, all the attacking options we talked about, the midfield balance that they've finally got right, to just ignore left back like it's not a thing. Like, no, it matters and it is a thing, and it's killed Juve in the past 2 years over and over again.
Yeah, unless they know something that we don't know about what's going to happen next summer or January, then I'll tip my cap off to them. If they find how somehow get someone that's, I'm not saying it's Andy Robertson, but like an Andy Robertson tier or a level of a left back out of the blue, then whatever, I'll tip my hat off to those guys. But it's one of those things where, like, I don't know, maybe the thing that, and I said this at a previous live stream with Davide, where I said, I think hypothetically, because our left wing, especially with Chiesa returning, when you have Kostic and Chiesa on the left side of the field, I think that's going to draw more focus from the opposing teams, where it kind of gives Sandro or De Sciglio a little bit of breathing room. Because like in the previous years, the only creativity that came out of the left outside of Chiesa was Sandro having to go all the way up to either dribble the ball out of bounds or do something. Like most of the offensive play came through Sandro or De Sciglio up top on the left. Whereas now it's a little bit different. I mean, I'm not saying that it's, it's progressed immensely and it's a lot better, but like you've seen it now where it's like more so, instead of Sandro being the one that's forcing a cross into the box, it's more so Kostic, or it's more so whoever's playing on the left side as a substitute or an alternate to Kostic. Keane, even though again, Keane, we're not rating Keane here and saying Keane's an amazing player or anything like that, but like you've noticed that the style of play is a little bit different. Whereas last year you had maybe Rabiot playing as a left midfielder or Morata, and you would see Sandro would overlap and get caught out. And I was saying this and I was thinking, I'm like, the seasons where we've seen Sandro's productivity dip drastically was when Ronaldo was up top on the left and Sandro had to cover Ronaldo's inefficiencies on the off the ball. Or like, for example, last season where there was literally no options on the left, or it was maybe Morata at best, or maybe Keane. So like Sandro being pulled up to the top, and people in the chat, I'm not saying that Sandro's a great player, an amazing player that should get renewed, but I'm thinking of it logistically here, where if Sandro doesn't have to do that much this season, where he needs to go cautiously up, but not always up, I think that's going to change. Because like the things that I've noticed is he's put decent 50-60 minutes this season, not like a full 90, because you've seen the fatigue wear on his legs, whereas last season half the time he's gassed, and whenever an opposing right winger would come at him, it looked like he didn't have the legs anymore to just get these guys that like he would just get beat off the run. And I think it just might be tired legs. I mean, that could just be my argument. I think it might be different. So I think the club's like, hey, let's try to milk it out for one season before we really, really go into it. But I'm not Carabini and Arriva Bene spokesperson. I'm just theorizing and speculating here.
And maybe we see a little bit of that lopsided team where it becomes a back three in possession and Sandro just becomes another centre back and Cuadrado plays that right back and pushes forwards,
Yeah.
Maybe if I'm looking for a positive, or maybe when Chiesa is back, Kostic plays that left back.
This whole fullback discussion has gotten as tired as Sandro's legs. Like
maybe even more.
Maybe more. Yeah, sub it off. Like it's a sticking point. We do keep on coming back to it.
Yeah.
There's no answers yet.
No. I don't know which I'm more sick of, Sandro or talking about Sandro.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's move on a little bit because I don't want to waste but spend too much time on this whole debacle. We'll see. I'm hoping for January myself, but we will see. But I'm going to take this time now. We literally just hit 400 subscribers, everyone. Thank you so much.
Yay.
Excellent.
Yes, we're doing this push to 500 because at 500 we get to do the interactions on YouTube, specifically polls and posts and all that stuff. So what we're doing, I talked to Farhad today, the boss man, if you will. He is gonna give out some swag. We're looking for a shirt giveaway from our store, turngiants.com. Once we hit 500 subscribers, we are gonna do a giveaway. So please do like and subscribe. We'll make the announcement when that does happen. We have I think it's about 128, 130-ish new subscribers in just over 2 weeks, 3 weeks or so, which is awesome. That's really great for a new channel like this to grow. So thank you so much for the support. Please, thank you so much, guys. Please keep on sending those comments. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. Just get in there and check out the swag at Turn Giants, because if you win, I mean, you might already know what you want. So, let's do that. That's a little bit of the good news. We're gonna focus a bit on the bad because I mean, we have to. We can't be completely biased with the old lady here, as much as we love her, right? So let's start with the tech injury. It's a bit of a blow. I don't know. Is it a blow? What do we think?
So the good news is he had some tests. There wasn't any bone or ligament damage, so it's not like he's going to be out for 5 or 6 months. It's an ankle sprain. It's the thing is because like we have a good backup in Perrine. It's one of those luxuries that we do have where he is a suitable backup as a goalkeeper. It's not like Inter where they have Handanovic and then it would be like nobody. But I think they have Onana now. But again, I regress, but Perrine great at PKs. I think that's the one thing we'll miss is if there's ever a time where we concede a penalty, you at least have a dog in the fight with Tech. Tech probably is one of the most best PK stoppers I've seen in the last 2 or 3 years. Just because it's even like it's like he stopped 4, I think last year, 4, possibly 5, besides the retake against Inter, but he did a really great job with it. So he'll be felt like he's lost, but I think Perrine also can sit there and just shoulder the load for now. Because again, he's a start. He'd start anywhere else. Like if you think about it, you send Perrine in Serie A. I mean, there's very few teams besides maybe Milan with Mike Mignon. But like I think he would start maybe 18 out of the 19 or 20 teams in the league. So
maybe Rui Patricio. Is good.
Yeah, so like I think Perrine would probably contest a starting gig. So I mean, it's one of those luxuries that Juve have right now is we have 2 starting goalkeepers. So
more depth.
It's perfect.
Perrine's a good player. Like I'm not too worried about that at all, as long as it doesn't linger and he's out for ages and ages, because Juve are in a lot of games and you don't want to see too much Pinsolio on the field. On the bench, absolute legend. On the field, maybe not so much.
Pinsilio is the guy that you want to see on the Instagram page, not on the actual field.
Exactly.
But it is unfortunate. I have actually rolled my ankles doing almost exactly the same thing. Why I was playing net, that's a whole other question. But I was, and I did roll my ankle the same. It sucks. I've rolled my ankle playing soccer, basketball. Just name a sport, I've rolled my ankle. It's a tough one. Those are small ligaments in there. It's a small muscle group. So, Yeah, all the best to Tech. Hopefully he recovers quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
moving
never
on.
understand why goalkeepers don't wear higher boots, by the way.
I never got that either.
Like a rugby player, American football player, whatever, you wear some higher boots. Like,
even baseball, because I mean,
yeah.
I play everything, but my cleats are high ankle cleats because again, I rolled my ankle playing baseball because apparently there's bases in the way of your running. So I mean,
just a completely random comment, I know, but just thought of it then. Like, why doesn't he just wear higher boots?
So the funny thing about that is like Nike and Adidas tried to compensate for that by making those like sleeves on top of your boots. Like I forgot, it was like the Hypervenoms and the Mercurials.
Yeah.
But you know, it was interesting because that was like a thing from like 2012 to about like 2015, 2016. And then they went back to what they were originally doing because I guess just players and people just complained about it being uncomfortable. But yeah, you know, that's interesting. But you know, we're not shoe designers, unfortunately, so we can't.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll move on from there. Next point. So I don't like to dwell too much on the negative, so I don't want to like break down the nitty gritty.
This would have been a short show after Sampdoria then.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It would have.
5 minutes.
Yeah, no, we're just we're at 51 minutes. I don't want it to drag on forever. I mean, it takes as long as it takes. So you guys keep on asking questions, and I mean, awesome. We'll stay here as long as we can. But the big thing was possession, really. We've been talking up our depth, our midfield and whatnot. We still lack that possession, that ball control in the midfield. So like, what is it? We have the pieces, but what now?
So the one thing that I observed that I saw this game was, I don't think the midfield was the issue. I think it's more so the wingers. So like, for example, I wanna put Quadrado and Keane on the spotlight for this one, because it's like, the thing is like those guys, for some reason, whenever you put them out there, when you isolate them in a one-on-one, they're too afraid to take on the defender. Like Keane, especially Keane, is really guilty of this, where like he'll have the ball, he's one-on-one with their left back or their right back. He's sitting there, he's like looking at him in a stance, and then he makes like a basic move, and then they just pop the ball away from him. I haven't seen, like, for example, Vlahovic received the ball from that same position that Keane was and took on one of the guys and beat him, and then got dragged down by another defender. Where it's like, you look at Quadrado and Keane, it's almost like those two are afraid to dribble past an isolated defender, where it's their job. They're on the wing. They're an offensive player. They're supposed to be able to do that, because if you have dangerous wingers that can beat people off the dribble, that opens up the defense of the other team. Because, for example, you know, let's look at Liverpool with Salah and Mane before Mane left. Those two guys could beat people on the left or right, so it forces the other center backs to kind of sit there and kind of have the corner of their eye focused on the wings. Where it's like with us, and it's getting notorious to the point, especially this first half, where Spezia's defenders were looking at Vlahovic and Vlahovic alone. They're like, yeah, our right back and left back can handle Keane and Quadrado. So they had two players on Vlahovic, which made it difficult for him to get going. And I think because with Quadrado and Keane just struggling to really beat defenders and really have that threat, that dangerous presence on the side, is just essentially pocketing Vlahovic. Because think about it. If Keane or Quadrado just lob across into the box, Vlahovic has to beat, one, the center back that's on him, and two, the center back that's cleaning up if the first center back fails. Whereas, like, you look at these good flowing teams, like, their wingers are able to create plays. They're able to make something happen, where it's like with Keane and Quadrado, you just don't see that. Where it's like when Di Maria came in, Di Maria was able to pull those defenders out of position because Di Maria is able to beat someone on the dribble. Di Maria isn't afraid to dribble at a player. And I think Kostic needs to develop that as well, because Kostic, right now, from what I've seen, it's receive the ball, cross. There isn't even like, should I take on this dribble? Should I cut this way? Should I move this way? Consistently, you're seeing him take the ball and just forcing a cross. Whether he wins a throw-in, cool for him. If he doesn't, he doesn't. You need to see that, because the only players that I'm seeing in the front lines right now that are dribbling, and I'm not counting the midfielders, but right now it's Vlahovic and it's Di Maria, because these guys need to start dribbling more. They need to stop being afraid, because once you get into a right back's head that I've beaten him on the dribble and created a dangerous play, that changes how the defense lines up. Or Spezia right now is just like, hey, 2 guys on Vlahovic. We're going to let our respective wingbacks be isolated because they can handle it because Keane and them aren't taking anything on. So essentially you're giving less options and less threats for the opposing team.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some truth to that. Just having a quick look at the stats from the Spezia game. Miretti turned the ball over 7 times, Locatelli 3 times, Quadrado 4 times, Keane 4 times, and Vlahovic 10 times. So obviously, some of that is trying to do a little bit too much. In Miretti's case, maybe Vlahovic isolated a lot of the time by himself. He's gonna have some bad touches and turn it over. I think a big part of the problem has been no Di Maria, no Chiesa. And then with Paredes coming in as well, it just gives you that little bit more ability to retain the ball, retain possession. Juve barely managed to boss possession. I think it was like 51% just in the game. So that's going to improve with players who are more comfortable on the ball. And in Paredes, then you move Locatelli to where he's better. Di Maria, obviously, and Chiesa and Di Maria are going to Dash's point about being able to take players on more successfully as well. You're just going to keep the ball more. So your possession number is going to go up just by default almost. Yep. So I think for all the praise we heaped on Juve's midfield and attack earlier, it's not been complete in these games, and that's why the team has struggled. You're still playing Moises Keane, you're playing Locatelli out of position, which will be improved going forward now that the whole squad is coming together. But for right now, you don't have those guys, so you're still muddling through with an ill-fitting team at the moment.
Yeah. And I know, Dash, that was you wrote a paragraph about that in your game notes, so I'm glad you got that off your chest. Thanks, Adam, for adding on to that as well. Like those are great points. There's still more to come. There's a bit of work to do, but these pieces are coming together. So yeah, these coming games, we'll absolutely see. But from here, kind of want to move on from the game itself. We had a couple questions about Zakaria, so we're going to talk about a bit. It's transfer deadline day. We've got to talk a bit about the transfers. So first off, we'll hit up Zakaria. He's gone. He's off to Chelsea. So I don't know. I know there's going to be mixed emotions. What are you feeling?
I like him. I think he's potentially a really good player. Juve bought him for $4.5 million. Looks like they're going to sell him for about 30. Selling him means that you can keep Miretti and give him minutes in the team. As much as I like Zakaria, that's win-win, right? You're making a tidy profit. That's exactly what I was saying before about you need the youth team players coming through because it saves you money in other areas. To me, that just is a prime example of that. That's happened today. You've got this guy now who Allegri trusts, who he can play, who hasn't cost you anything. You got a guy you bought when you really needed a midfielder in January. You don't need him anymore. You make a 25 million profit. Thanks for coming. Job done.
It's huge profit, really. Financially again, and I know love or hate, I've said this a lot this Mercato. The money is talking right now. So at the very least, Dash.
It's a nice capital gains for us. I mean, if it goes for 30, it's a $25 million bonus for us. I think it's an option with an obligation, so I think he has to hit some things for it to be an obligation. But we look at our midfield right now. If he stayed, it would have been 8. And what is he, 5 or 6th on the depth?
That's the thing, isn't it? If it's a choice between him and Miretti, you would take Miretti. Juve tried to sell Rabiot, but his mum said no, so he wasn't allowed to leave by his mum. So somebody else has to go, and I probably would rather keep Zakaria than Rabiot. But if we're talking about who's the 4th choice midfielder, it's like, whichever.
Well, and the thing too, since it's not a guaranteed sale, but like hypothetically, because Rabiot's out of a contract next summer, Rabiot leaves, then Big Z can fill up that slot and take Rabiot's spot. In theory, hypothetically, maybe. But I'm pretty sure Chelsea will exercise the option at the end of the year.
If you've been at a club for 5 months and they send you out on loan to Chelsea, you're not exactly going to want to stick around for too much longer after that. Are you? You know?
Yeah, there's reports that he wasn't very happy, but I think the writing, and maybe that's part of the problems, the writing was always sort of on the wall. He kind of had that feeling, I'm assuming, that he knew that he was going to be moved sooner than later.
Yeah, it's a smart market move, you know. Juve did this a lot with Beppe Marotta in charge. Beppe Marotta tried to do it with Christian Eriksen and almost pulled it off, apart from Christian Eriksen's unfortunate health issues. Otherwise, that's exactly what they would have done at Inter. They bought Eriksen on the cheap, and they were going to flip him because it would have been a massive profit. Unfortunately, his health prevented him from doing that. It's good business. You got the guy for $4.5 million. You're selling him for 30. That's
huge.
With Juve struggling for cash and needing to invest in other areas of the squad where midfield is so deep, it's just a smart bit of business.
And we're talking about 6-7 months, like not even a full season, because we got him in January. So 25 million over half a year. I'd take that, absolutely.
Yeah.
I just wish that Chelsea bought Delic for like 100 plus instead of because some of the purchases they've made recently where I'm like, oh, they couldn't give us that money, but they did 80 for like this random player from Leicester. All right.
Yeah.
It's what happens when the player wants to leave, though. Like and you want to leave to buy. We're getting on Delict again. Yeah. It's we got to peel that Band-Aid off, guys. He's gone. All right.
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah,
it's over. It's done.
It is. It's over. Let's move on to Arthur. He's gone. He's finally gone.
And his wages. I mean,
that's everything. He's gone.
The full thing. It's like he doesn't exist here anymore.
Oh, but I think this is maybe the greatest move of the market. I don't know if I'm stretching, but the biggest relief in any case.
Yeah. My only issue with it is it's just a dry loan. So he's back next year. That's my only thing.
Yeah, I think the problem there is because of how much Juve on paper paid for him. So the book value is so high, you're not going to get a club to agree for an obligation at a price that's not a massive financial loss for Juve. I mean, you basically will be writing off the money you just made on Zakaria if you sell him right now.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of, as much as we criticise Juve for it with Piazza and other players, when you've paid that much, you kind of have to go out on loan again, and maybe in 2 summers you can sell him at a price that suits everybody. Because that move to exchange him for Pjanic and 15 million, now it means that Zakaria is still worth like 55, 60 million, and nobody's paying that.
No.
You know, he's got a great chance at Liverpool with all their midfield injuries in a team that works perfectly to go have a big impact immediately and get himself a place at the World Cup. So it's great for him, great for Juve, fills a need for Liverpool. They've signed, I called on BBC Radio today in an interview, I called him caffeine-free diet Thiago. So I'll stick with that. And yeah, he's a player who can do a job for somebody, but that somebody wasn't Juve, so he's gone and he's taking his wages with him.
And that's with me, where it's like I hope he plays well at Liverpool, because then he'll get bought by a Premier League team. Because they'll be willing to drop 60 million for fun. Like, I mean, it's
as much as we trash on the EPL, at least some of us, I do from time to time, we can always count on them to pick up our trash and pay us for it.
Hey, they paid 20 million for Bentancur, which I thought was not possible.
We keep saying they spend stupid money on stupid players, but if they're spending stupid money on our stupid players, that's a good thing.
Yeah,
you take the wins, right?
Yeah.
I know. I mean, Man U almost bailed us out with Rabiot, so it's just one of those things where,
almost.
Hey, as long as he plays well in the Premier League, someone's gonna buy him, whether it be Arsenal or something else that gets the capital for it. I'm all for it, because they always overinflate players, and since he's technically a Premier League player now, so they're going to be more than willing to do it.
Yeah. And I've never seen an interview with Arto's mum, so win-win.
Touche. Yeah, there is always that. Otherwise, that kind of covers our docket for today. Is there any other points that I missed, or you guys want to add on to?
No.
Or questions from the crowd too, of course.
I think we did a good job. I think we did a good job.
Self-proclamations here.
Yeah. I know. Nobody else is going to do it.
Adam, you did great today. Thank you very much.
So did you. So did Dash. Good job, guys.
Dash, you were all right.
I know. I tried.
No, you're great.
I didn't catch the audio. That's my fault.
Yeah. But yeah, if that's it, guys, thank you very much. We're going to hit you guys again tomorrow for a pregame. It's, I mean, the next few weeks are going to be busy. Great for the algorithm anyway, so please join us. Hit that like button, subscribe, tell your friends about us, get involved. Also, hit up that Discord, join the conversation, as well as the esports if you're into it. It's all there. So thank you very much. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Dash. Yeah, thanks for showing up, and have a good night.
Bye, everybody.